Firstly, the reason why Competition Law Act came to be after 2002 is because of the liberalization policy that happened in 92. But therein, where the state of Metley conversely tried to move into a fast-paced economy. And therein, one of the guiding principles of the Competition Act is to ensure consumer welfare and to ensure that the consumer has the optimum choices of goods available at an optimum price, wherein he is not being dependent on one consumer, which is again encapsulated under Section 4 of the Act, which talks about position of dominance, which states that if a company or an enterprise is able to sway a consumer or its competitors in its favor, that shall also be concluded as an abuse of dominance.
Also, could you strengthen your argument by citing some cases where, like, the point you have been trying to make that judicial member?
Yes, Your Lordship, absolutely. If Your Lordships could just one second, Your Lordship, a lot of papers. If Your Lordships could turn to page 53 of the compendium, the case is CAD versus CCI, and it's the most recent judgment of the Delhi High Court. Wherein again, if I could also just go to that compendium, wherein, and I quote from paragraph 18 of that relevant extract from that. Yes, sir. Compendium, my Lordship, I just have one copy only.
Is this one here?
Yes, Your Lordship.
Page number?
53, paragraph 80. Your Lordship, and I quote, and this is again the Delhi High Court, which again delivered the Mahindra utility judgment, which stated that there shall be a judicial member present, especially in final orders. Therein also it said that prima facie it's an administrative function. It's not there in the compendium, but that's para 185 of that relevant judgment. Here in paragraph 18, and I quote Your Lordship, that the aforesaid section, referring to section 15, makes it amply clear that no act or proceeding of CCI would be invalid by reason of any vacancy or any defect in the Constitution. And at the same time, if I could turn Your Lordship's attention to page number...
Scholarly writing for this?
Pardon, Your Lordship?
Scholarly writing.
On the aspect of judicial proceedings or not having a judicial member, Your Lordship, I don't have that.
Okay, proceed.
Your Lordships, if I could have your attention to page 25 of the memorial, wherein, and I quote, this is paragraph number 60, which is not there in the compendium, but it's there in the memorial, page number 25. Once Your Lordships are there, I will. Alright, Your Lordships. So, there is a court again held, referring to the Mahindra judgment, that there the court ordered that central government that was directed to fill the vacancy in the period of 6 months, and it cannot be assumed that the court had interdicted the working of the CCI during this period. So even after, let's say, the commission or a higher judicial court decides that there should be a judicial member, during that period the functioning of the commission shall not stand suspended, which again proves to the fact that in terms of competition matters, especially during the administrative stage, the judicial member is not a sine qua non in terms of the competence of the commission to hear that matter. If Your Lordships are satisfied with this issue, I'd like to move on to issue number 1. Much of that, Your Lordship. Issue number 1 is whether prima facie bonanza is a dominant enterprise. And I'll be dealing with this issue under 2 heads. Firstly, what is the definition of the relevant market in the current situation? And secondly, what are the relevant factors that need to be taken into consideration while determining whether an enterprise is dominant? Your Lordships, I'll be dealing with the aspect of relevant market again under 3 heads. Firstly, the statutory provisions. Secondarily, the Supreme Court decision in CCI versus Coordination Committee of Artists in West Bengal, which gives a guiding light as to why is the relevant market definition important and what is the prospect of defining a relevant market. And thirdly, certain recent decisions of the Competition Commission of India, where it has explicitly differentiated between online and offline platforms. Before we move on, Lordships, we submit that in the present case, the relevant market should be defined as either provision of e-commerce services.
Yes, tell me under which section your allegation?
Your Lordship, relevant market, we refer to product market under section 2, subsection T. Section 2, R defines relevant market, S defines relevant geographic market, and T defines relevant product market. And I'll be dealing with the operative part of...
No, I'm asking what is your allegation pertain to which section?
Section 19. We come to the commission under section 19. And allegation of abuse of dominance under section 4 and causing AAEC under section 3 subclause 4, and in specific, if your Lordships want, subclause C, which talks about exclusive distribution agreements, which will be dealt with my second proposal, if I may proceed with the paragraph. Your Lordships, if your Lordships look at section 2 subsection T, and I quote the relevant portion or the operative portion in the council's humble opinion, that products or services which are regarded as interchangeable or substitutable by the consumer by reason of characteristics of the products or services, the price and their intended use. We feel at this moment juncture there will be, because there have been consideration by the CCI from both demand side substitutability, which is the consumer, and supply side substitutability, which is the suppliers or the producer. And though we submit our first submission being that the Act only looks at by the consumer as being the operative word, we'll also deal with the contention of supply side substitutability and how we feel the relevant market is provision of e-commerce services and or provision of online retail services, whichever your lordships in their learned opinion defining paragraph. Then your lordships.
So, Consul, you feel that section 4 satisfies in this particular case?
Yes, your lordship. Section 4,
all the conditions are met.
Not all the conditions, your lordship. There has been abuse of dominance in terms of section 4, explanation A, 1 and 2. That they are able to operate independently and or they are able to affect the competition and the consumer in their favor. Your lordship, my counsel, I shall define the relevant market so that your lordships can then follow the flow in a better manner. Much of that, your lordship. If I could turn my lordship's attention to page number 20 of the compendium, which is the Supreme Court judgment in CCI versus West Bengal Coordination Committee of Artists and West Bengal. Then if I could just give a crux of that judgment to your lordships. Then your lordships, the commission
Of the case?
Pardon your
What was the facts of the case?
Your lordship, the facts, if I could do a brief summary, the facts were that in West Bengal they wanted to put a dubbed version of Mahabharata in Hindi, and therefore the Coordination Committee of Artists wanted to put a stay on that dubbing because they stated that it is infringing on their right or their ability to play that Mahabharata in Bengali. And then their first contention was that we as a Coordination Committee of Artists are not even an enterprise. So the Honorable Court also stated that Coordination Committee of Artists, since it's dealing with provision of services, if I could have an extension, yes, dealing with services, therefore it is an enterprise. If you are also satisfied with the facts, then you can move to the relevant facts.
Coordination committee case is under which section?
Your lordship, it's under relevant market 19.7 wherein determination 3.4, your lordship, 3.4, because therein they also stated that how provision of those services was allegedly affecting the CCI, but therein Coordination Committee of Artists in that case. However, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Competition Commission, stating that they are an enterprise and therefore they shall be, the regulations are as held in that judgment. If I may move to the relevant paragraphs for our consideration, much of that. Therein, again on page 20 of the compendium, paragraphs 34 and 35, so giving you a crux, your lordship, the Supreme Court talks about interchangeability, substitutability, and the primary factor that the Supreme Court talks about is that the Commission shall begin from a narrow understanding of that market and then move on to consider other and broaden its horizon if that narrow understanding is not able to contain or analyze the current competitive restraints. Which is where we believe that the narrow understanding of that market as the e-commerce platform gives the Commission ample understanding, because in that paragraph itself, in paragraph 36 to your lordships, and if I may quote, yes, your lordships, if I may quote, the court stated that firstly, that while identifying the relevant market in a given case, the CCI is required to look at evidence that is available and relevant to the case at hand. CCI has to define the boundaries of the relevant market as precisely as required by the circumstance of that case. And if I could refer to paragraph 34, last two lines, the objective of defining a market in both its product and geographic dimensions is to identify those actual competitors of the undertaking involved that are capable of constraining those undertakings' behavior and of preventing them from behaving independently. Keeping this judgment in mind and the relevant provision, if I could take my lord's attention to paragraph number 1 and paragraph number 2 of the Moot proposition, wherein it clearly states that all activities of Bonanza.com are provided on its e-commerce platform. Therefore, any sort of constraint that can be put on Bonanza's e-commerce ability shall come from another e-commerce ability only. Because offline retailers, and this is where we distinguish on the basis of characteristics also, because offline retailers, and a pure simple analogy for your lordships to consider. If I as a consumer look at a phone on Bonanza.com priced at X, and I'll be dealing with the SSNIP test as well. Look at priced X on the phone and it's priced X on, let's say, offline. Let's assume both prices are similar. At that time, the characteristics differ because that phone is getting delivered to my home. Outside, I have to go out, face all human variables that a human has to face when they go outside that market. Which is where, again, the CCI, if I could bring the Honourable Lord's attention to page 31 of the compendium, paragraphs 4 and 5, which is the MMT Go OA order, which is as written as 2021, wherein the Commission, if I could have to test. Your Lordships, wherein the commission held that MMT Go were not only a different market in the online sphere, they also differentiated between online spheres and online OTAs, which is travel accommodating services. So therefore, and your Lordships, as your Lordships in their learned judgment already know, there exist certain decisions of the commission in terms of Ashish Ahuja and Moot, where the commission stated that they are merely part of a vertical agreement, that is, online and offline markets are distribution of the same relevant market. However, two conditions that we have to that, your Lordships. Firstly, these are judgments from 2013 and 2014. There have been 10 years since that judgment, and the e-commerce marketplace has developed exponentially. Secondarily, your Lordships, Bonanza has entered into agreements with certain other entities since 2019. And if you look pari-materia to all the facts, there have been 2 years of coronavirus wherein the entire world was under lockdown, the entire world was on the online sphere. Therein we believe is where Bonanza is able to exist as a dominant enterprise, and therein we believe if the commission defines the relevant market broader, we'll be able to let go, we'll be letting go a monopolistic entity to work in an unfettered manner, which we believe is against, again, the entire reason why, or the constitution of the Competition Act in the first place.
Other than substitutability of online and offline market,
yes, Your Lordship.
you are saying they are
characteristics. Because Your Lordships, if I may quote the section again, the section says on the basis of price, characteristics and substitutability.
and the price is same.
Price is same.
If I purchase from online and from offline,
Yes.
I may get same price.
Yes, Your
So
Lordship.
why I will distinguish between online and offline?
Your Lordship, because of substitutability and characteristics. Price, let's assume it's the same. Substitutability, again, as I said, that by virtue of certain, because if I could quote my Lord's attention from the United Brands case, though it's not there in the compendium, but I like to bring it to your Lord's attention, wherein the commission, wherein the case court said that there exists a difference between online and offline marketplaces because of the ability to touch and feel products. If I go to a physical store, I can look at an iPhone, I can scroll through it, etc., etc. On the online, all I can do is look at its, read its features and look what it looks like. The ability to, if I could get a 3-minute extension, my lords, much obliged. So the ability to feel that texture and the experience of going to an online versus offline store is different. Your Lordship, I just have another submission. 1 minute. Alright. If my lords are satisfied with this submission, I'd just like to move on to prove that Bonanza is a dominant position. Much obliged, Your Lords. My lords, again dealing with the dominant position of Bonanza, taking my lords to section 4 explanation A 1 and 2, either ability to exist independently or convert or affect competitors and consumers in its own favor. For that, I would like to bring my lord's attention to mostly all the paragraphs of the Moot proposition, but I'll just give a brief summary.
19 factors for determining dominance.
Yes,
What
Your Lordship.
factors you are considering?
Your Lordship, we are considering A, B, C, F, H and M, which is basically majority of the situation. For that, we are relying on the compact decision in DLF versus CCI, wherein this case was similar because DLF also faced competition from two other infrastructural bodies, and herein also there exists Central Mart with 30% market share. We agreed to that. However, by virtue of its ability to engage in pricing that is way out of control of beyond the ability of others, which my co-counsel will be dealing with, and secondarily, its ability to influence consumers by ability to offer services which are allowing the consumer to treat Bonanza as one of the only existing enterprises in the e-commerce market. Thirdly, Your Lordships, if I could bring Your Lordship's attention to the facts of the Moot proposition, through which, because we feel, again, we reiterate that the Commission right now needs only form a prima facie opinion. There has been an investigation by the DG, and the Commission is not pronouncing the rights of the parties. Therein, Your Lordship, para 1 read with para 7 talks about Bonanza's ability to operate independently, looking at services such as free delivery, free exchange, etc. Para 2 explicitly talks about having more than a 50% market share. And this is where we differentiate from the Shangunam versus Reliance Jio case. And if you could again draw Your Lordship's attention, just 1 minute, Your Lordship, 30 seconds. Your Lordship, just 30 seconds, I will sum up my submissions. Much of that.
You finish now.
My Lordship.
30 seconds you finish.
Yes, much of it. In Shangunam,
We got your point and we'll just close it.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. My final argument. Shangunam case, there were 11 market players with Reliance Jio having just 7% market share. Therefore, the Commission had Reliance not to be dominant. If we look at it right now, after that, Reliance started charging for its SIM, and right now in the telecom sector, there exist major two players, Reliance and Airtel, and the government had to buy out Vodafone and Idea. We don't want such situation to happen in the e-commerce market, which is why the Commission will believe in its honor opinion much longer than us. Much obliged, Your Lordship. It was a pleasure arguing with you.
Perfectly audible.
Yeah.
Greetings to the honorable bench. My lord, this is counsel number 2 appearing behalf on the informants. My lord, I will be taking you through issue number 2 and issue number 4, which are regarding issue number 2 is regarding whether Bonanza has abused its dominant position, and issue number 4 will be regarding appreciable adverse effect on the competition. My lords, if I may proceed with issue number 2. My lords, under issue number 2 we have raised that once it is proven that Bonanza does enjoy a dominant position, Bonanza has actively taken steps to abuse such a dominant position. My lord, we come under issue 2 under various subsections of section 4, which include section 4 subsection 2A, section B, C and E. I will take you through all these arguments, and my lord, with your permission, I will be taking both the approaches of effect-based test as well as the per se test. As the counsels in the Google LLC judgment, we are allowed that in the similar case to prove a prima facie argument.
Section 4, whether section 4 is effect-based or it's a per se?
My lord, section 4 will be per se, but section 3-4 will be the effect-based argument. And I will be using both the methods in separate issues. My lord, if I may then start with predatory pricing. Predatory pricing, my lord, has been defined in the case of transport energy systems versus tech pro systems. There are 4 essential guidelines that we have to argue in front of this honorable bench in order to prove what constitutes a predatory pricing in the first place. My lord, if I could get your kind attention to page number 39 of the compendium, these are the 4 guidelines that we will be going through. The first guideline will be that the prices of the goods or the services of the enterprise are at a very low level. The second guideline I will be going through is the objective is to drive out competitors from the market who due to low pricing would be unable to compete at such a price. The number 3, there is a significant plan to recover losses if any. And number 4, the competitors have already been forced out. But with your prior permission, I would just like to state some prima facie facts in order to say that how I will be tackling such elements. But regarding the prices, it has been said that not only in deep discounting during festive season, they have been engaging in low level pricing, which asserted by the informal side, because we are coming from such a background. We know that they are selling.
Is there any difference between deep discounting and predatory pricing?
Indeed, my lord, there is. Deep discounting is generally assumed to be for a smaller period of time, whereas predatory pricing is assumed to be for a sustainable period of time. We argue that both these activities are wrong in the first place, the way they are carried out right now.
We cannot conclude that deep discounting is predatory pricing. Even if the enterprise selling its product at a deep discounting rate, but it may not be predatory.
Indeed, my lord. You're absolutely right regarding that, and I'll be taking predatory pricing and deep discounting at different levels. But I'll say that the way they have done their deep discounting is prima facie abuse of their dominant position. That is, I'll take both those arguments at their own level. I will not mix these arguments and say that deep discounting is equal to predatory pricing in such case. But if I could get your kind intention primarily, and this is before starting the submission regarding section 2, they have also conceded in their memorial that they are an inventory-based model. According to the FDI policy, as far as the knowledge of the Council for the Information goes, any e-commerce platform, and if I may read the particular section because they have mentioned it, any e-commerce entity providing a marketplace will not exercise ownership or control over the inventory, goods to be purported to be sold. Such an ownership of control over the inventory will render the business into an inventory-based model. Therefore, there has to be an active distinction in this commission between an e-commerce marketplace and inventory-based model. Due to we have seen the repercussions that are happening with Amazon in the Europe and Amazon in the US. But lastly, the way they have defined inventory-based model is inventory of a vendor will be deemed to be controlled by e-commerce marketplace if more than 25% of purchases are done from that marketplace which belong to that particular vendor. But this is a prima facie argument that we have to initially raise, in which we can say that this, even being an inventory base, is an abuse of the dominant position as well as its controlling the e-marketplace. But now starting with the predatory pricing principle, the first principle I will be tackling is the argument regarding the deep discount effect. If I could get a kind attention to page 40 and 41 of our compendium. Page 40 is of the case Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Association of India versus Trip of 2022. It's a very recent judgment which talk about how for a sustainable period of time, if you are marketing your product at a very low level, how that amounts to predatory pricing. If I may read with
there is always a contradiction in predatory pricing. Actually, what your colleague suggested that the competition is allowed in that for the benefit of the consumer. Ultimate benefit is properly to the consumer.
Indeed,
and when the company charges predatory pricing, the benefit of course it is selling the price below its cost.
Yes,
okay. So when it is selling below its cost, consumers are getting the product at a lower price. So what is the harm?
My lord, that is
are benefited, so
indeed,
why should we intervene?
That is a perfect argument to be made, but the benefit that accrues in such a situation is only a short-term benefit. At every point of time when you're actively doing predatory pricing, you're also killing the competition in the market. For example, if I were to put a real life example, how Jio entered the market, they were selling their SIMs for free at every point of time. Till a very late age. Now what happened to that is because of that there are only two phone services available in the country right now, which is Airtel and Jio. Idea Vodafone has been sold to the government of India because we allowed predatory pricing to exist at a very long stage. So even at that short period of time where consumers were having the benefits, now there is a potential for competition and antitrust law abuse. That's what the problem with predatory pricing in of itself is regarding the consumer welfare. Now if I could read with your prior permission of in the case law, such pricing fixed by OYO are approximately 30% lower than the price of hotel rooms that are not listed on its platform, due to which OYO hotels command higher occupancy. For this reason, the non-OYO hotels are compelled to join OYO platforms as they are unable to withstand OYO's competitive strategies in the market. Now, read along, I'll read paragraph 59, last few lines. Since MMT Go has been prima facie found to be dominant position in the relevant market, and they have been in the business for a sustainable period of time, which was since 2000, such practice by them does not appear to be introductive or being even aimed at building a network. This argument is regarding the argument that they will be raising regarding penetrative pricing. Penetrative pricing as a principle is introduced is when you are introducing and entering into new markets or newer platforms. Penetrating pricing is not a principle that you can argue if you've been in business since 2011, because you're already the market leader of a very big e-commerce platform.
But is you are citing that the MMT matter, the Commission has not taken deep discounting as a issue conduct.
Indeed, my lord, but this principle still stands in the judgment that the deep discounting does create an adverse effect and the problem with the competitors in the first place. And therefore, they also argued that Director General investigation to happen to get the exact figures. And this is what my lord will, for the risk of repeating, we will be repeating this that we are only here to establish a prima facie case regarding penetrative or the predatory pricing. Lord, if I could come to the second submission regarding the same. The second submission is regarding how they are using their position as a dominant in the e-commerce platform, and now they are taking it to protect themselves in the targeted advertisement space. But considering that this correlation, that being an e-commerce platform and having targeted advertisement is a newer correlation, there is a lack of jurisprudence in India and internationally. So I'll be referring to two major important decisions that have happened recently. First, the European Antitrust Commission statement regarding the Amazon case, and second, I'll be referring to a paper written by Lina Anpan, who is the Commissioner of Federal Trade Commissioner of US. My lord, if I may read with your prior permission, I'd just like to read particular paragraph because that will settle the case in and of itself. My lord, page 42 of our compendium is regarding the Antitrust Commission of Europe. It explicitly says, and I quote the Commission, as a marketplace service provider, Amazon has access to non-public business data of third-party sellers, such as the number of ordered and shipped units of products, the seller's revenue on the marketplace, the number of visits to sellers' offers, data relating to shipping, to sellers' past performance, and other consumer claims on products, including the activated guarantees. Lastly, it also says the Commission's preliminary view outlined in a statement of objection is that the use of non-public marketplace data, marketplace seller data allows Amazon to avoid the normal risk of retail competition and has been used to leverage its dominance in the market for the provision of marketplace services in France and Germany, the biggest markets for Amazon in EU. If confirmed, this would infringe Article 2 of Treaty of Functioning of the European Union that prohibits the abuse of dominant market position, and therefore they have ordered an investigation to take place. My lord, this is what they are also doing. They have an e-commerce platform. They are taking non-public user seller data, and they are giving that data to Bonanza ads. Now they are using the dominant position in one market to protect itself in the other market.
What are your two markets? One is the e-commerce market.
E-commerce,
where
yes.
I was saying the party is in dominant position.
Yes.
Which one is the other market?
The Bonanza targeted ad market, that's Bonanza ads that they're running. That they're using data which is required given by e-commerce platform, they're giving it to that platform, and using that they're doing two things. One, they're protecting themselves in that targeted ad market, but secondly, they're also fulfilling the principle of
under which subsection that leveraging power?
My lord, that is under section 4.2e. And that also fundamentally fits into the principle of predatory pricing also, because the third essential principle I had said to prove is recoupment of losses. Because of their losses and they're selling their product at a loss, they're never actually de facto suffering any losses in the first place. because the recoupment is actively happening even if they sell at a loss. So that in and of itself amounts to predatory predatory pricing in the first place. Lastly, my lord, if I could also quote Lina M. Khan's journal, which is Amazon Antitrust Paradox. It was written in 2017.
You have been arguing that predatory pricing, that is the increase of the bonanza. That is the only criteria which we can conclude that is like the view of government position.
No, my lord, I have
one condition equally to be satisfied. So one condition predatory pricing you have been arguing. Penetrating prices you have argued. What else?
Well, I'll
And
just
also if you go by the fact is saying only 50% of the market. Other companies have I believe 30% of the market. It's not complete monopoly they have.
indeed, my lord. But my lord, two submissions regarding that. One, under section 4, it says or after every subclause. So even if we can prima facie prove one of them, then that is a ground in and of itself for a DG investigation. That's the first submission. The second submission is, my lord, it's not just the market share, the way they have been acting in that particular market, the way they have been controlling the prices and driving out competition, that and all the other factors combined, my lord. It's not just one factor, it's the particular case when you see it as a whole. It can be seen that they are a dominant enterprise and they are therefore abusing their position also. My lord, if I could continue the submission, I have...
we have said yourself about the Geo and Airtel. So all the small partners they have gone in the market. So how far competition commission can control the market also? Because the market is operating in a different paradigm altogether. So too much interference of the competition commission also is a possibility of affecting the market and ease of doing business in India also.
We agree.
Because the entire exercise has started with larger perspective in the globalization market.
We agree to all of those principles. But just one submission that if at this point of time the commission does not intervene, this could lead to a monopolistic market which in and of itself defeats the purpose of the free market. So investigation in certain cases where the chilling effect is less powering than the intervention, we believe intervention in those cases is definitely necessary.
Why government is focusing more on ease of doing business?
My lord, because ease of doing business promotes economy as a whole. Because it involves FDIs, it involves more investment in the country, it involves more job creation. That's for sure. And we agree that the intent of Competition Act is not wrong at all. It even at certain point says that it's here to promote competition and therefore better economy. But the following that intent is where we have come to this court also. We're saying that in order to protect the free market we're here, and in order to protect the free market we want the DG investigation to at least show us what the current facts of the case, and after the DG investigation we can all come to the conclusion that
we
whether
have certain reservation that 50% you see that's why the complete control of market is not there in the case of government. It has a limit like 50%. And you are basing your argument on the 50% and you try to see that they are completely agree with that position in the market.
My lord, the thing is it's 50% carried on with their predatory pricing, carried on with their data which they are using, carried on with their vertical agreements that they are creating and selling bonanza label products, carried on with restriction of new entry because of the data that they are operating with. All of these factors combined is where we are arguing this case from.
Alright, so you make your argument. Can you support your argument with a similar case? Will you okay when you were decided to
Indeed, my lord. If I could get your my lord's kind attention to matrimony versus Google LLC. My lord, in this particular case, two arguments were raised and both were discussed in this following manner. One, it was raised that accumulation of mass amount of data by Google does create active obstacles in the market, which is what we're similarly arguing, that the accumulation of data by Bonanza is actively hindering our retailers' capability to enter that market in the first place. Secondly, my lord, Delhi Vyapar Mahasangh versus Flipkart Internet Private Limited is what, if I could read my lord's, with my lord's permission, that will be kind of you. If I could get my lord's permission to first come to page 47 of our compendium. But what it says regarding private labels and exclusive tie-ups, that having several tie-ups and private labels give more preference in terms of sale. The opposite parties' private label brands sold through their platforms are routed through preferential sellers. It is submitted by the informant that this modus operandi is being employed by Flipkart across all categories, including smartphones. It is alleged that these exclusive tie-ups in the relevant market with smartphone companies It provides exclusivity through discounting and preferential selling. Now what it says is, this leads to other competitors being excluded and being foreclosed from the market. It is stated that any benefit of the consumer is only apparent at the initial stage, which is what my lord was saying, that the discounting does sound better for consumer welfare, but it is only apparent at the initial stage. Till critical mass of network effects is reached or all competitors are eliminated. At that point, this arrangement has a far-reaching consequence on the economy, as the non-preferred sellers are relegated to sell only through traditional brick and mortar stores, setup which involves significant fixed costs and are devoid of wide pan-India reach with their online marketplace. This is what the judgment, and this is what we are also putting. This is the similar fact that we have also come from. They are having their private labels. They are doing preferential listing on that. My lord, if I could give facts on the particular case, even if you could go, if I could also read regarding para 10.3, which is another submission regarding preferential listing and how that works. My lord, this is just a submission regarding that fact. That if you search rustic wall clocks on bonanza.com, the first thing it will show you are bonanza wall clocks. If you search wall clocks also, it will show you bonanza wall clocks. Rustic is an old market player, but still, in the name of search engine optimization, what Bonanza is actively doing is they're promoting their own products. Two submissions to that, my lord. One, such preferential listing in and of itself is seen as a abuse of dominant position. If I could read with my lord's permission, the ops have been limiting the provisions of service and market of MSMEs and other small retailers by creating a separate preferential list. The preferred sellers are put into an advantageous position as their name appear on the initial pages as compared to non-preferred sellers, despite selling their products with identical retail. Thus, there has been restriction of services in the market. This actively creates barriers for new retailers to enter the market. But Lord, if I could take along with an analogy in the same case.
If I draw an analogy, like if we write something on the Cambridge University page, that will come everywhere. If I write something only like an unknown journal, it will never appear. So should we argue on that? The Cambridge University is monopoly, complete monopoly. There are a lot of factors are there.
Indeed, my lord. But my lord, in the current case, if I may argue as a preferential listing,
because technology is there, these are the companies, big companies are in position to exploit, and they have wherewithal, they have money, they have resources, they are doing. So how you want, how you expect the competition commission more than every time you into the more on the black and white interpretation of it.
my lord, the case is that if my lords are justified or satisfied with the fact that there is a prima facie abuse of dominant position, then by law and in the nature of in the interest of justice, our DG investigation does not violate any of their rights. It is also agreed by us that if they want to withhold certain information which is confidential in nature, there is a separate provision for that. And they can mark certain information as confidential. There are regulations regarding that. And there is no right violated in that particular case. And if my lords had also decided that such DG report is not to be published to everyone, my lords can withhold that information. But having that information in the first place is what we are communicating for. We agree and we give to the court that my lords and learned judges will be very capable of understanding what DG report says, and this is only possible after a DG investigation is ordered under section 26 of the law. So Lord, if I could lastly read regarding how they are spreading their own risk by using consumer data, which is a paper written by Ina and Lord, if I could get your kind attention to page 43 and just take one paragraph out of time. My Lord, if I may read. In using its marketplace this way, Amazon increases sale by shedding risk. It is third-party sellers who bear the initial cost and uncertainties when introducing new products. By merely spotting them, Amazon gets to sell products only once their success has been tested. The anti-competitive implications here are clear. Amazon is exploiting the fact that some of its customers are also its rivals. The source of this power is one, its dominance as a platform which effectively necessitates that independent merchants have to use their site. Number two, its vertical integration, namely the fact that it both sells goods as a retailer and hosts sales by others as a marketplace. And number three, its ability to mass amount swaths of data by virtue of being an internet company. All three of the factors and relevant factors are met in the Bonanza cases here. It concludes, notably, it's the last two factors, its control over data that heightens the anti-competitive potential of the merchant. My lords, with that, I come to the conclusion of issue 2. If my lords don't have any question, I can proceed to issue 1. Much obliged, my lord. My lord, arguing regarding their take on single economic entity, we agree that that's a settled principle of law. We don't want to utilize the word that any agreement between Bonanza and its subsidiaries come under the single economic entity, and therefore we are not challenging any of those agreements. What we are here to challenge are the agreements between Bonanza.com and its vendors who are making who are the manufacturers of the goods, and they are privately labeling such goods on the name of Bonanza. Those vertical agreements are, my lords, not covered under single economic entity because the manufacturers and the distributors form as part of the same supply chain. But the supply chain, and in this supply chain, any agreement between the distributor and the manufacturer does qualify as a vertical agreement. My lord, if I could also get your kind attention to page 48, which is the Delhi Vyapar Mahasan case, where it particularly says regarding what type of agreements behave like. And as my lords, I have already cited this case in particular argument, but the conclusion is that the market power of both the companies have to be interpreted separately. So even if one of the players of the supply chain is shown to be in the dominant position, then that is even in itself a prima facie ground for an investigation for DG under section 26(1). But second submission I have is regarding the case of Automobile Dealers Association versus Global Automobile. Lord, that's on page number 63 of our compendium. And if I could just read the first few lines. While ascertaining AAEC in case of any agreement falls under section 3(4), the possibility of AAEC has to be examined at both levels of production and supply chain in both separate markets while where the agreeing parties operate. Well, Lord, if it has been proven that the Bonanza is a dominant enterprise and it has a vertical agreement, that in and of itself, now they are using it to cause an appreciable adverse effect on the market. Well, Lord, I'll be taking you to section 19 and section 19(3), and I'll give you all three criteria which we're arguing for: the creation of entry barriers to new entrants in the market, driving existing competitors out of the market, foreclosure of competition. Well, all these three things are actively happening by Bonanza labeling their goods, using the consumer data, and then selling in the name of Bonanza. Well, the submission is clear that if any retailer wants to join Bonanza, they practically cannot. Even if they may argue that the access is there, in terms of de facto understanding of that situation, they have nearly no access.
Alright,
Not much well. Therefore, it is played in the light of issues raised, arguments advanced, authorities cited, that this Honorable Commission may be pleased to 1. Order Director General to investigate the matter under 26(1) of the Act. Direct that Bonanza discontinues its practice of abusing its dominant position in the market for provision of e-commerce services, which is in contravention of section 3 and 4, subsequently to the investigation of Director General, and or pass any other order or direction or relief that this Honorable Commission may deem fit in the best interest of justice, equity, and reconcile, all of which is not to be made.
The matter at the prima facie stage without the judicial control. Your Honor, the Council concedes to the same and humbly seeks permission to proceed on with the arguments pertaining to the first divisions. Much obliged. Your Lordship, evaluating the merits pertaining to the first issue, the Council would like to courteously contend for the same on two different levels. Ascertaining that it is not established that Bonanza is prima facie a dominant enterprise, because in the relevant market of e-commerce, in the state of metal, it is ascertained so because firstly, the impugned relevant market is indeed broad enough to be inclusive of both online and offline platforms. And secondly, Bonanza does not conform to the criteria set under section 4, read with section 19(4) of the Act, which establishes whether an entity enjoys a dominant position in a particular demarcated relevant market. Your Lordships, the basis for the first limb of the argument.
Why you are thinking online and offline are same market?
Much obliged, Your Lordship, the Council would like to argue the bone of contention right now. Your Lordship, pertaining to the first limb of contention, whether the relevant market has been based on the whether it is inclusive of both offline and online markets, the Council would like to contend that the mere perusal of section 2(t) of the Act defines that the relevant product market as a market comprising of all those products and services which are regarded as interchangeable or substitutable by the consumer by the reason of characteristics of products or services, their prices and intended use. This identification of consumers and their perception with regard to interchangeability among the products and services is to be of a profound parameter which is to be considered by the regulating body. Your Lordship, among the several products which are present in the offline market, the same can of course be found in the online market, and the Moot proposition is also portraying the same fact, considering that when one of the informants, Rustic, did not officially get into an agreement with Bonanza to sell to sell officially under their brand name, but it still had an option of, when the consumer still searched up Rustic's name, it still had an option of buying the same ball brand clock either online or offline. This pertains to the interoperability and interchangeability factor. And to this, the council would like to direct the bench's attention to the case of Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Association of India versus Make My Trip Private Limited. The same has been could be found on page number 5, paragraph number 34 of the competitive process. That in this particular opposite case, it is stated that a narrow market determination, which includes a fewer substitute goods, increases the likelihood that the firm will indeed be deemed dominant. The same would be the fate of Bonanza as well, considering that it would obviously be deemed a dominant player had the regulatory bodies came into a much narrower determination of a relevant market. So, considering the same, the council for the opposing parties would like to consider the fact that a narrow determination of a relevant product market is not necessary in this opposite case.
What about geographic dimension, geographic market?
Your Lordship, pertaining to the geographic dimension, there is no conflict as such, because this the council had to rely on the case of Surinder Singh Barni, where it was stated that when there is homogeneous substitutability, the entire state of pan-Mekli would be considered as the relevant geographical market. So when it comes to that, there is no conflict. Your Lordship, in the heels of various landmark cases such as Ashish Ahuja versus Snapdeal and in Indre Deepak Verma and Clues Network, page number 8 of the compendium, paragraph 16, it states that the commission held both offline and online market would be differing in liberal terms of discount, shopping experience, and of course the buyers would be weighing in the option of what products are available both offline and online market. But in the Ashish Ahuja case, the commission has held that if the price in the online market increases significantly, then the consumer is likely to shift to the offline market and vice versa. Therefore, the commission is of the view that these two markets are different channels of distribution, but will belong to the same relevant market. Your Lordship, the council representing the opposing party humbly concedes the argument that for the consumers, the price is the key factor and not what is the channel for sale. So, Your Lordship, at this juncture, the council would like to substantiate its arguments by purporting to the same for the test of substitutability, as mentioned in section 2T, the statutory construct of the Act. And second of all, it would rely on the SSNIP test, because the learned counsel for the informants had also relied on the SSNIP test or the hypothetical monopolist test. But in the Make My Trip case alone, it has stated that considering Bonanza is a multi-sided platform, the applicability of SSNIP test would be standing invalid, because it is promulgated with various sort of complications. So when a hypothetical monopolist test is applied to a multi-sided platform like that of Bonanza, any result that has been rendered by this test cannot be argued by either side for the counsel for this party. So considering that the only test which is being left at hand is that of the interoperability and substitutability test, which the Act in itself is very clear regarding the same. Your Lordship, at this juncture, the council would like to rely on why there is a purpose for market determination at this context. Why is it necessary? It is to identify the products that exert competitive pressure on the products being sold by the firm and are substitutable to the extent that the firms producing them can be considered competitors. Of course, when Central Mart and Bonanza are taken side by side, hand in hand, they are competitors. There is no other way around. So when that is the case, this has been, the council would like to direct a bench's attention to the case of Meru Travel Solutions Private Limited versus Uber India Private Systems. Page number 19, paragraph number 20 and 21 of the compendium would substantiate your Lordship with respect to the same. So, in this opposite case, it is respectfully contended by the council for Bonanza that already has been stated that Bonanza is a multi-sided market where the demand side substitutability can be assessed with regard to more than one consumer group or side. So, your Lordship, over here, considering Bonanza as a multi-sided platform, there are two sets of consumer groups. One on the end of offline manufacturers under whom Bonanza has gotten into agreement with, and the second one being the consumer side, which are of course the buyers, which would pertain to the competition per se. Your Lordship, when there are distinct groups of consumers being present, again, the measure of extent to which the products which are sold on Bonanza.com and that of Central Mart and Rustic are most definitely interchangeable to this extent. And from this viewpoint of producers and consumers, because Rustic, apart from selling their clothes offline, they chose to intervene into the omni-channel of getting into the online market by getting into an agreement with Bonanza.com to sell their clothes also on the online sectors. This would definitely be the informants hinting at the fact that there is interchangeability to a substantial extent. Your Lordship, the council would like to rely on the case case of Umar Javed versus Google, Together We Fight Society versus Apple, and in Jasper versus Cobb, which is a European Commission case which has a persuasive value on the Commission's opinion. To this extent, the Council states that there are differences between online and offline market retail. The Council for the opposing parties concedes that, but the difference is getting smaller and smaller. And of course, when the learned counsel for the informant stated that owing to COVID-19, there has been the online market have such a boom, the offline markets obviously had to depend on the online market. That in itself substantiates to the point that there was no essential asymmetric substitution that has been happening over here, but rather a factor of interoperability has been substantiated by the informants themselves. Your Lordship, moving on to the second limb of the first issue, it is humbly averred by the opposite parties that Bonanza does not conform to the criteria set in the Section 4, read to Section 19(4) of the Act, and it establishes, in which it has been established that a dominant position enjoyed by an enterprise in the demarcated relevant market. Now that the relevant market has been demarcated to be the PAN state of McLean, the Council for the opposing parties finds it relevant to make note of the fact that it is not a mere dominant position which the Commission censures, but rather the abuse of such dominant position which the Commission finds knowledgeable. And considering the fact that essential establishment of dominant position in a demarcated relevant market acts as a predeterminant for identifying any such abuse of the same. Your Lordship, the opposite parties rely on the Saturday construct based on two criteria provided under Section 4A of the Act. And to this extent, the Council would like to rely on the case of United Branches Commission, page number 28 of the compendium, wherein when read in the parallel lights of that of the Saturday construct of the Act.
That's what the case it appears to us. We don't need to go to the cases that so we are handling to this absolute case. It appears that the company is abusing dominant position.
Your Lordship, when it comes to abuse of dominant position, which will be dealt under the second issue, the Council finds it pertinent to first of all establish that there was no enjoying of dominant position in the first place by the opposing parties. When there is no dominant position which is being enjoyed by the enterprise of Bonanza, how can there be an abuse of such a dominant position? So the Council would like to satisfy your contention in the upcoming arguments, kindly. If Your Lordships, in the case of United Branches Commission and of course in the case of Hoffmann La Roche and any Netherlands Branden industry, it has been held that, and when these three cases read in the parallel light of Section 4A of the Act, there are two criteria which need to be satisfied for an enterprise to be identified as a dominant enterprise in the relevant market. These two are operating independently of competitive forces prevailing in the relevant market, and these independent operations should affect its competitors and consumers of the relevant market in its favor. Both
You are holding 50% of the market share.
more than 50%.
However, you are saying you have to take both online and offline market.
Yeah.
Let's assume that the market is e-commerce market only, and in the e-commerce market you are enjoying 50% of the market share. So obviously you are affecting the competition in the market.
Your Lordship, to this extent, the Council would like to state that market share alone is not the sole criterion to determine whether an enterprise enjoys a dominant position or not. To substantiate your contention, Your Lordship, the Council would like to rely on the case of Ramakant Kini versus Dr. L. Hiranandani Hospital.
What is your position on the Section 4?
Section 4, it is basically stated that we do not enjoy any dominant position, considering that we are not swerving the market in our favor.
Section 4, that would be
We are opposing the allegations
But
forcefully.
your case is not attractive. Section 4 is not
Attractive, indeed. Indeed. Your Lordship.
We have certain regulation which are related to pricing, a lot of facts that we need to give facts, other things we believe that there is a possibility of abusing dominant position. But anyway, we will hear from that.
Your Lordship, when it comes to
that matter is relevant to your.
in that opposite case, it is stated that market share alone, not just market share, but rather any indicators of dominance alone cannot be taken into substance in order to determine whether an enterprise enjoyed a dominant position or not. So, since Your Lordship asked that, considering there is more than 50% share in the market enjoyed by Bonanza, the Council has stated the opposite case. Your Lordship,
You have also mentioned in your arguments that there is not distinction between online market and offline market is getting closer. How you are saying that?
because Your Lordship,
Offline market you need infrastructure, you need a place, or online market you don't need anything, you need a computer or something and everybody can access. You can online market can be accessed anywhere, city here also. But offline market you have to cover a distance, you have to go to a building, you need a place to put these things. So how you see that blur or there is no distinction? How do you show that? If I go by your argument, persist and we will remain there between the online market and offline market?
Your Lordship, the Council agrees with your contention that there has been a stark difference between both the markets, but it does not get essentially attracted as per Section 2T, which employs 3 different criteria, one being price. But of course, over here, when Rustic was selling the wall clock offline as well as online, the price remains the same. So again, substitutability comes into matter. Intended use and characteristics. The consumer would obviously buy a clock for the purpose of using the clock, and characteristics as well. So when these 3 criteria are satisfied, to a certain extent, that there is no marginal mitigation in the interoperability factor, then it would pertain to the contention.
State policy of online market can affect the offline market.
Your Lordship, sorry.
State policy of online market can affect the online, offline.
Only to
Suppose
the
you get anything you are looking for and you get very cheap on the online, then why people will do on the market?
Your Lordship, over here the contention is that Bonanza is selling its own products, or rather some other product in the cheap price. That would only add up or boost the competition, but rather not the interoperability factor.
That is killing the market also.
The council would satisfy your contention in the upcoming arguments. Owing the same, the council would like to move on to the second issue, which pertains to whether or not Bonanza's pricing and discounting policies and how they do not fall under the purview of Section 3 and Section 4 of the Act. Your Lordship, gauging the facts and merits, it's herewith appraised so because firstly the opposing parties never employed any sort of predatory pricing, but it was rather penetrative pricing and deep discounting and tie-in arrangements. As alleged so, and secondly, Bonanza operates as a single economic entity which does not attract anti-competitive agreements under Section 3 of the Act. Your Lordship, pertaining to the bone of contention, the definition of predatory pricing spells out that it is a...
Do you think that the concept of a single economic entity that will be put under Section 3.4?
Section 3.3 and 3.4 essentially are brought into the purview of single economic entity. But over here, considering that there is the last final contention that the council would like to
Always under Section 3.4, there is one in the upstream and there is one downstream.
Your Lordship, considering that the informants have conceded to that fact that they are not arguing on the limb of single economic entity, it still stands incumbent on the opposing parties to state that we are a single economic entity and thus we are not elusive of Section 3 of the Act, but rather an act to provide, keeping in view the economic development of the country, for the establishment of a commission to prevent practices having adverse effect on the competition, to promote and sustain competition in markets, to protect the interests of India, and for matters connected therewith or incidental therewith.
Sustain market product also. So we have to argue on that.
Indeed, Your Lordship, but considering... the council would like to substantiate your question. Your Lordship, coming back to predatory pricing and whether or not Bonanza has employed predatory pricing or not, going with the limbs of the cases which the informants themselves have cited, the case of Transparent Energy Systems Private Limited versus Techpro Systems, wherein 4 different indicators of predatory pricing have been mentioned. But then it has been failed to mention whether or not there is an intent to predate. Of course, there is recruitment, considering Bonanza is a huge entity which has good valuation, not because it's a dominant entity, but rather having a first mover's advantage. It has huge investment in its hand. So recommend is there. But then again, intent to predate has not been established by the informants. To the extent the council like to rely on the Reliance Jio case, wherein it has stated that a motive to predate is essential.
Tell us, the offline traders, they are not able to give much discount, whereas you are giving 30%, 50% and 60% discount. Do you think that manufacturers are providing such a low rate to you and not giving to them such a low rate? They are not able to offer such quantum of discount that you are offering. Why not people will suspect your intent that you are doing such thing to kill competition in the market, to push the competition from the market that the other players will not be there in the market?
Your Lordship, the council would like to direct your bench's attention to market study on e-commerce of India, which has explained what deep discounting is. And even the informants, the learned counsels of the informants have pointed out, deep discounting happens only for a temporary period of time, and festivals will not go on throughout the season. And when an entity is offering discount for only a small period of time, that would only act as an underlying stature to entice more consumers. It's pro-consumer in nature. It's for the welfare of the consumers and not. It doesn't essentially.
Not in context. time of stocking.
That is what statement is
Stocking
talking
is-
about.
It appears it continues. So we are
Every year you are doing twice, thrice.
It's a complete, it's not like a temporary period, a temporary period perfectly fine, and particularly festival time, even according to the facts of the case is perfectly fine, but it appears to us, this is a trade, some way, like some discrimination exists in the pricing of your company and others.
Your Lordship, to this, as the Council has already stated that it is a multi-sided platform, the Bonanza is selling only the offline manufacturers' products on their platform, acting as an intermediary under their name, of course. So, even when they are offering discounts, it would be acting as a pro-consumer nature for the consumers. Yes, agree, the Council concedes the same. But,
You finish your time.
oh wait, what supplies your Lordship? But of course, when they are offering discounts, it's all the manufacturers who got into the agreements with Bonanza to sell it. Sorry. Your Lordship, coming to penetrative pricing, it's humbly submitted that Bonanza has reduced their prices. Bonanza has reduced their prices not to attract consumers, shall rather be termed as penetrative pricing, and it's not predatory pricing because there is no precise or any concise definition in the jurisprudence of competition which pertains to explaining what would be amounting to penetrative experience and penetrative pricing. And predatory pricing, and penetrative pricing also per se is not anti-competitive in nature. The Council would like to rely on the case of Fast-Track Kolkata Private Limited versus Meru Travel Solutions, where it has stated that a new entrant armed with new idea. Page number 55, paragraph number 97 of the compendium, Your Lordship. It has stated that a new entrant armed with new idea, superior technology or a superior product or technological solution that challenges the status quo in market and shifts a large number consumer base in its favor cannot be always held to be dominant or abusive dominance. So when a case, when the commission then yourself has held such a jurisprudential factor, the fact that Bonanza has engaged in penetrative pricing would not of course pertain to the fact that it has abused its dominant position and there was no dominant position in the first place. Your Lordship, coming to deep discounting again, the deep discounting definition, if Your Lordship is satisfied, the Council will move on to the tying arrangements. It is humbly contended that under the Act, tying arrangements is dealt under the head of vertical anti-competitive agreement under Section 3, Subclause 4, Subclause 8 of the Act, where a tying arrangement is not illegal per se and it only amounting to be illegal if it was anti-competitive or causes AAC in the tandem. Your Lordship, over here, when Bonanza offered to its consumers Bonanza Pro, which was inclusive of music streaming services and TV streaming services, it cannot definitely amount to tie-in arrangements considering that the consumers who are purchasing Bonanza Pro had always had the option of buying the other products. The proposition clearly uses the term incentive. Incentive is entirely different from option because over here the consumers have the option of buying any other music streaming or any. Owing to the paucity of time, the Council like extra 2 minutes extension. Much obliged. Okay, much obliged.
One question. Whether what will be the consequential presumption of their argument that you are selling your products much below the cost price of your manufacturing?
Your Lordship, over here.
Consequential presumption that you are, in order to play in the market, competitive market, you are selling your products much below the price of the manufacturing cost.
Over here, Your Lordship, it is nowhere in the proposition it has been stated that the Bonanza is selling their price below production cost. Even if they are selling, arguendo, Bonanza is selling below production cost.
Every industry, corporation, company, they are working for profits. And the spirit behind this act is that you must flourish in the market, but not at the cost of others. So what will be the consequential presumption of your selling prices, selling your product much below the price of manufacturing cost?
The consequential presumption would be that we are trying to recoup because it would amount to predatory pricing considering we are selling below the production cost. But it has nowhere been established in the proposition that...
See, 50, even 50%. More than that, it's certainly would be below the price of manufacturing cost. But even 50% cannot catch up the manufacturing cost.
You're also taking the similar line of argument. Even the Informants, the Central Mart has 30% market share in the e-commerce domain only, not in the entire pan-state metal market. But in the e-commerce platform only, they have 30%. And taken as a whole, they have been operating as a branded offline platform for time immemorial, even way before Bonanza came into existence. If going with a similar line of argument, the consequential presumption would, according to the council stand, would be rendered invalid, considering that it has already been stated by established by the council that market share alone is not a sole criterion, and intent for predatory pricing is not established. It is rather a presumption, not an establishment of intention. If your lordship says something. Much obliged. You're also moving on to the final limb of the argument, which pertains to the single economic entity. Of course, the learned counsel for the opposing parties thank the informants for standing on the same page with this, that they are not contending. It still stands incumbent on us. So when it comes to single economic entity, the counsel for the opposing parties state that inter alia factors like legal control, single center of decision making, unity in economic decisions, and exercise of decisive influence have been considered by the court, especially in the case of Kapoor Glass Private Limited versus Short Glass Private Limited. All these four factors are being confirmed to by Bonanza in tandem with the fact that all the different enterprises of Bonanza act as a parent, translates into a parent subsidiary firms, because Bonanza.com acts as the primary platform wherein Bonanza streaming services such as video streaming, TV streaming, and even app services and all happen in a same platform. So any influential decision being taken by Bonanza.com will be substantially affecting the other Bonanza's companies, and overall this would amount to a parent subsidiary relationship. And if that is the case, overall any agreement that is happening in between Bonanza's the council is almost done. It would amount to single economic entity, which would not fall under the radar of Section 3 of the Act. Hence, your lordship, if your lordship is satisfied, the council would like to wrap up and over to the council. Thus, the council for the opposing parties humbly rest their case by citing the aforementioned rationale and reasoning and establishing the fact that Bonanza did not enjoy dominant position, or argumenter, even if it did not abuse the said dominant position. It was truly an honor arguing in front of the honorable bench. Much obliged.
Much obliged, your lordships. This is council number 2 representing the opposite party in the present matter. And I'll be briefing this honorable commission through two issues. My first issue will add some substance to the arguments that my co-counsel has already established regarding the abuse of dominance position and the anti-competitive agreements. And my second issue pertains to the power of this commission to hear the present matter without the judicial member in the forum. With the leave of my lords, I would like to proceed with the first issue at hand. Your Lordship, I'll be placing forth two arguments in this issue to substantiate my claims, wherein the first contention is that Bonanza.com is an inventory-based e-commerce platform, and thereby it has the power to procure the products from manufacturers and sellers and sell it in its own platform. And that secondly, there is no manipulation of the search algorithm as has been contended by the informants. Your Lordship, the consumer protection e-commerce rules of 2020 have clearly laid out the specific rules and definitions for what is an inventory-based e-commerce platform and what is a marketplace e-commerce platform. Under an inventory-based e-commerce platform, an e-commerce entity which owns the inventory of goods or services and sells such goods or services directly to the consumers and shall include single brand retailers and multi-channel single retailers. The facts are very clear that since 2019, Bonanza has entered into specific agreements whereby it procures certain category of goods and services and brands it under its own name and sells the same way. This portrays that Bonanza.com is indeed functioning as an inventory-based e-commerce platform. Therefore, what is significant to note over here is that when these specific agreements
there are two types of functions you are considering. One is you are providing a platform service. Okay.
Indeed.
And what you are saying, you are procuring goods and services and giving your brand name and selling it on your platform.
Indeed.
So there is chance that you may discriminate other manufacturers of those who are listing on your platform. So why not this would be a anti-competitive?
Indeed, Lordship, I will be placing forth my contentions regarding why these specific agreements are not anti-competitive in nature and why that we are not abusing our position in the market.
You are integrating your platform service with that of your agreement with other manufacturers. You are supposed to not do that. if you are providing a platform service, you should be indifferent.
Your Lordship, nowhere in the Moot
But
proposition.
in your search platform, when people search for goods, you are showing your products on the front, projecting your products on the front page.
Your Lordship, I'll be coming to the contention regarding the manipulation of search results. That is the second end of my contention. If Your Lordship may permit, I'll finish my argument regarding the anti-competitive agreement. Your Lordship. To determine whether the agreement, these exclusive agreements, as has been contended by the informants, comes under the purview of anti-competitive agreement under section 3. It is to be noted that what constitutes anti-competitive agreement is whether there is an AAC in the market, Your Lordship, whether the act results from an appreciable adverse effect. And for this, certain factors have to be considered which are not only under section 3 but also under section 19 subsection 3 of the act, Your Lordship. Under section 19 subsection 3, my learned counsel for the informants relied on the only first 3 sub-clauses under section 19.3. But what is to be noted is that there are other 3 sub-clauses under section 19.3 which are to be considered as factors for determining whether there is an AAC in the market or not. Under section 19.3, it reads as follows, Your Lordship. The Commission shall, while determining whether an agreement has an appreciable adverse effect on competition under section 3, have due regard to all or any of the following factors, namely creation of barriers to new entrants, driving existing competitors out of the market, foreclosure of competition, the fourth one being accrual of benefits to the consumers, fifth one being improvements in the production or distribution of goods or provision of services, and the last one being the promotion of technical, scientific and economic development by means of production or distribution of goods or provision of services. What needs to be considered at this juncture is that the 5th and 6th subclause are very important, whereby Bonanza is procuring these products since 2019 and it is improvising the distribution channel as such. These are small sellers, small scale manufacturers who during the COVID times, in these contemporary times, are facing huge losses due to the lockdowns which are imposed in the country of McLean. Thereby, Bonanza.com is providing a very good platform for these sellers to recoup their losses as well. Moreover, what should?
So you are looking only on those sections which are relevant to you.
Sorry, Your Worship.
You are just addressing or arguing on the sections which are beneficial.
Your Worship, these are the factors which
You
have
are
been
not creating barriers for the others.
Indeed, not, Your Worship.
Like what you had already started with that point. The practice which you are engaged, it appears to be like some way creating barrier or like
Your Lordship, if we were indeed creating barriers, then MSU, which is having a 30% market share in this e-commerce platform, they would not have been able to enter the market itself.
When you allow him to continue, then that
will feel all the all others will disappear from the market.
Indeed not, Your Lordship. Indeed not, Your Lordship.
Today, but maybe 3-4 years, 3 years ago.
Indeed not, Your Lordship. We are functioning since 2011, Lordship, and we have been considerably growing based on our performance in the.
What practices you are following?
Sorry, Your Lordship.
I will take your argument, you take your argument also. What are the ethical practices which you say that will ensure or believe definitely it will not happen over here?
Indeed, Your Lordship. This is with respect to the second contention that we are not manipulating any of the search result algorithms. Your Lordship, we are following a very basic search result algorithm
What
where
are your company's ethics? I am asking you, forget about the company's ethics. What do you believe? Like what your mission? What are the ethics? What are the values you have as a company?
Your Lordship, we are a very ethical company. We are complying with all the rules and norms as under the Companies Act as well as the competition law as such. And there have been no previous cases etc. against our company. And this is the first time in 2023 that a complaint has been put against us. And thereafter we are coming to the Commission for the first time in our whole history of more than a decade of functioning in this country, Your Lordship. Therefore, our ethics.
So the new challenge which has been posed to you, so do you see it's a deliberate or you have scope to improve?
Your Lordship, this council does not wish to put any allegations on my informants as such. However, this council will just be proving that we are not affecting the competition in any manner and we are abiding by all the laws of the land as such for promoting the competition as such. If my lords may permit me to proceed to the second contention in this aspect. Your Lordship, the second contention is that we are not manipulating any of the search algorithm as has been alleged by the informants. Your Lordship, what is to be noted is that this Honorable Commission itself in its market study in 2020 has specified certain criteria and factors which are to be met to realize what are the search result optimization. Your Lordship. The Commission has stated that e-commerce platforms usually employ two methods, one being the organic listing and second being the advertisement-based listing, Your Worship. Moreover, following other factors are also listed by this Honorable Commission as important considerations for determining the search ranking, being advertisements, click-through rates, customer ratings, and the number of impressions. The customer ratings actually allows the customer to share the information on the product attributes and whether he or she considers it important and rate those products as per his interest. What is to be considered is that after these objective criteria have been considered, our platform gives the subjective choice to the customer, whereby he can go to the platform, he can search a particular product, and after looking at these ratings, the product descriptions, the customer reviews, he can make the subjective choice of whether he wants to purchase that product or he can go with another product. If we can refer the...
That option is not there in your
it is...
option is not there in your platform because your price is so like unreasonably low.
indeed not, Your Worship.
It's not fair for the others to compete with you. So
Indeed not.
consumer will only go, of course the other thing they also look in this. But because pricing, others are nowhere in the I don't see that there is a possibility that like, you are offering a platform where like the competition is there, fair competition.
Your Worship, there is a fair competition in our platform because the market over here as such has been continued
You
to
have a platform, you have also brand. You are putting your own goods there in your platform, so it's your own home, and you are also selling your product. So you have that intention in your mind. Of course, everyone will have that your price has to reach because there is a monopoly, there is a control in the platform, and you also will allow only those companies who can be below that above your price.
Your Lordship, we are not a monopoly in the market, Your Lordship.
I'm saying that will lead to the these are the clear
Your Lordship, however, if I may
and
draw...
confined to the only the platform, there is no development.
I'm sorry, Your Lord, I could not...
As you confined to only the platform, you only this a platform. Anybody can come or say something. So other issues are automatically would have been delivered. Other issues. Now like you have a platform and you have a product.
Your Lordship, it is only after 2019 that we have entered into this aspect. It is mainly because the offline retail market during the corona period was collapsing at an unprecedented rate, Your Lordship. Manufacturers, production houses, industries were getting closed down at a large scale rate, and so many people were rendered jobless and businesses were put out of their business, Your Lordship. It is at this point that we entered into contracts so as to sell these products to consumers. The end person is the consumer, Your Lordship. The consumer is the one who has to be satisfied in the end, Your Lordship. And as for the satisfaction of the consumer, only when the consumer is satisfied will the seller survive in the market, Your Lordship. If there is no consumer satisfaction, the seller won't survive, Your Lordship. If my lords may permit, I would like to cite the case of Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Association versus Make My Trip, wherein the CCI, this Honorable Commission, has observed that MMT provides various options to run a customized search to narrow down the vast populations of hotel present on online travel agency, using some objective parameters like price range, location, distance from the reference point, and thereafter these objective criteria assist the customers to narrow down the available options to a considerably smaller pool of options to choose from. Thereafter, the customers can apply further subjective criteria like hotel room pictures, facilities available, additional services and customer ratings to narrow down their search result and select the best possible booking. It is contended that Bonanza is on the same stance whereby it is providing objective ratings and thereafter the customer can come and determine a subjective decision as to what product he wants to buy from its platform. If my lords are satisfied, I would like to proceed to the fourth issue, which is regarding the power of this commission to hear the matter without a judicial member in its forum. Your Lordship, I will be placing forth three contentions in this aspect. The first one being that the Competition Commission of India is a quasi-judicial body. The second contention is that the Commission cannot conduct the proceeding in the manner in which the present proceeding has been initiated. And the third contention is that the Commission has not found a prima facie opinion in the present matter.
The Competition Commission believes this power and function, it derives from the
Competition Act.
So whether like your argument, whatever argument you take, it supports from the, it has support from the Act.
Indeed, Your Lordship, my arguments are based on the powers which the Commission has derived from the Act, Your Lordship, and the decision of the Honorable Supreme Court.
Argument also you can build on your substantial arguments should be on the basis of the Act.
Indeed, Your Lordship. The commission has been formed under section 7 of the Act and the composition has been specified under section 8 of the Act, Your Lordship. It is agreed that prima facie nowhere in section 8 has been mentioned that there must be a judicial member in the quorum, Your Lordship. However, what is to be noted is that the very nature of the commission under the Act is quasi-judicial in nature as it encompasses administrative functions as well as judicial functions, Your Lordship, adjudicative
But
functions.
the informant also addressed us and said that the Delhi High Court has some committees and said without the same member, commission can concern or decide also.
Indeed, Your Lordship, but what needs to be noted is that the present proceeding over here, which my learned opponent contend, is one under section 26(1) of the Act, Your Lordship. Section 26(1) of the Act portrays an administrative power to this commission, Your Lordship. However, what we are contending is that here no prima facie opinion has been formed by the commission. Therefore, this falls under section 26(2) of the Act, whereby a final order has to be passed by this commission, which is adjudicatory in nature, which has an appeal under section 53P of the Act, Your Lordship.
They are also saying and the appeal party will go for the judicial notice.
No, Lordship. Even under section 26(2), it being an adjudicatory function, being a final order, at that point of time, my learned friends refer to the Delhi High Court judgment. In the same judgment, they say that when an order has been passed and that order is final order in nature, it demands an adjudicatory member to be a part of the tribunal, Your Lordship. If I may proceed with my line of contentions for this particular issue. Your Lordship, the composition of this commission has been upheld by the Supreme Court in Ramdat versus Union of India, Your Lordship, where the Supreme Court has rightly stated that two separate bodies should be considered, one being an administrative and regulatory body and other being an adjudicatory body. However, even after this decision has been passed by the Honorable Supreme Court and this decision is still valid under the law, no two separate bodies have been formed here. It is only the Competition Commission of India which has been established by the Competition Act. And therefore, it is presumed that this commission has been compensated with both adjudicatory as well as administrative functions.
What about included? Nothing than competition appellate tribunal.
Indeed, Your Lordship.
Do you think that the commission is the expert body and the judicial body is compared on the included?
Indeed, not, Your Lordship. Even before it was the compact which was there, now it is the NCLAT. The order which is passed by the Competition Commission, whether it be an order under section 26(2) or an order under section 27, after the report of the DG has been submitted, these both are judicial in nature, Your Lordship, because they decide the matter at a final stage, Your Lordship. When an order has been decided at a final stage, that brings an end to the adjudication process as such, Your Lordship. If I may proceed, Your Lordship, also with utmost respect and honor for this commission and this bench, I would like to contend that the commission cannot carry on the proceeding in the present matter, Your Lordship. It is because it is to be noted when we speak about the power and functions of this commission, the commission also has the power to impose fines, penalties under the Act, Your Lordship. And fines and penalties are indeed penal implications on the party, whether it be the aggrieved party or the other party, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, when it comes to a penal implication, it is only an executive body. An executive body cannot make a penal implication. And this position has been cleared by the Supreme Court of India in multiple instances. I'll be reiterating one example where the Supreme Court has held that a punishment cannot be imposed by an executive officer and that it must be a judicial officer who imposes a punishment. In Hanuman Singh Kubar Singh versus State of Madhya Pradesh, this is a case wherein Section 21 of the Bonded Labour Systems Act was in question, whereby the executive magistrate had the power to impose punishment upon the wrongdoer. And over here, the Supreme Court has held that Section 21 of the Bonded Labour System Act,
Is there any direct ruling of the Supreme Court or the High Court on Section 15 of the Constitution Act? Section 15 clearly lays down that vacancy, etc., not to invalidate proceedings of the Constitution Commission.
Indeed, Lordship, we are not contending upon any vacancy or any irregularity in the bench as such. All that we are contending is that
if judicial member is not there, that is a vacancy.
Your Lordship, the present 3 members are in this commission hearing the matter. Therefore, there is no vacancy as such under the ambit of the Act, under Section 15 as well as under Section 22, subsection 3. What we are contending is that one of the members in this honorable commission should be a judicial member, because the order which this commission is going to pass in this present proceeding is a final order under Section 26, subsection 2 of the Act. Because the Commission has not formed a prima facie opinion. A reading of section 26 is very important to understand whether this Commission is forming a prima facie opinion or not, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, yes, you may refer to section 26 subsection 1 of the Act. It reads as follows, Your Lordship. On receipt of a reference from the central government or a state government or a statutory authority or on its own knowledge or information received under section 19, if the Commission is of an opinion that there exists a prima facie case, it shall direct the Director General, Your Lordship. Therefore, the normal process which this Honorable Commission should follow in the general scenario is that once it is of the opinion that there exists a prima facie case, it shall order the investigation to the DG, Your Lordship. In this present matter, the case has not been ordered for a DG investigation and notice has been sent to the parties, and we are present before this Honorable Commission arguing the present matter also, Your
I
Lordship.
should think that we as an expert on the subjects will not do justice to each other after we go to the party, just because we don't have a legal degree or we are not qualified to do it here.
Moreover, the Act has no provision for a legal view. The Act provides only 15 years of experience to certain field.
That is,
Doesn't provide any for a judicial member not in the court. Why you are insisting for that?
Even for final order.
Even in the final.
Your Lordship, that is agreed that the Act per se under sections 8 or 15 or 22 does not specifically provide that there should be a judicial member.
You are restricting us to function.
Your Lordship, I am not.
The Act says, that we have power. You are making something which the Act doesn't say. We are not going beyond that. So we want to work under the law and we exercise our power. That, so we believe. Now we accept your argument.
Your Lordship, with the utmost respect for this Commission, I would like to state that the decision of.
You have doubted the integrity or the competence.
Indeed not, Your Lordship. I am not at all doubting the.
Competence you have argued.
Parliament in its own wisdom has given that even without a judicial member, the expert body can function. We can deliver orders. So, but you are doubting our wisdom.
However, Your Lordship, when there exists a Supreme Court judgment, where there exists a High Court judgment, those judgments become binding on this Honorable Commission to state that when there is a final order in nature, a judicial member is required in this Commission, Your Lordship. That is the contention that this Council is putting forth. And also, Your Lordship,
Even in the International Criminal Court again, it's not necessarily the person has to be qualified. A person who has a knowledge in the criminal law can be. So the change is taking place. Let it be there here also.
Lordship, even on the similar grounds, there is a selection committee to appoint the members in the Commission. And a particular member in that selection committee must be a judicial member, Your Lordship. He must be a retired judge of the Supreme Court or High Court, Your Lordship. Therefore, even though the Act is not specifically stating things, this Honorable Commission has the power to regulate its own rules and regulations also, Your Lordship, as under section 36 of the Act. Lordship, what is essential is to consider why we are over here, Your Lordship. At what stage we are here. As this Council has been reiterating, if I may just wind up my arguments in a minute. Your Lordship, we are under section 26(2) of the Act because a prima facie opinion has not been formed by this Honorable Commission in this present instance. Because the Act mandates that once a prima facie opinion has been formed by this Honorable Commission, it shall direct the investigation to the DG, Your Lordship. And the same has not been satisfied in the present instance. And thereafter, this is a fit case under section 26(2) of the Act, whereby the orders passed are final orders in nature which require a judicial member in the quorum. If my laws are satisfied, I will move to prayer. Wherefore, in light of the facts presented, issues raised, arguments advanced, and authorities cited, it is humbly prayed before this Honorable Commission that since no prima facie opinion exists in the present matter, that the complaint against the informants be dismissed. It was an honor arguing before this Honorable Commission. Thank you.
Your Lordships, if I may proceed, I'll be dealing with three primary contentions that have been raised by the respondents. Firstly, before we proceed, we'd like to point out that there has been a misappreciation of facts by the respondents. This isn't the first instance that there has been a complaint against the respondents. If your Lordships would refer to para number 3 of the Moot proposition, there have been sellers who have made a representation to the government of Italy against the kind of predatory pricing and the kind of practicing of prices by the respondents. Therefore, this is not the first time that there has been an allegation against the competitive pricing. Secondarily, your Lordship, even though they might state that theoretically they're following all ethical guidelines and consumer protection rules. In fact, if on bonanza.com someone searches for rustic clock, Bonanza clock show. With that in mind, your lordships, the first issue that I'd like to deal with is issue number 3, is matters of jurisdiction. Your lordship, 2 primary submissions. Even if you assume under 26 clause 2 that the order of the commission is finality in order, assumption based on that, the wording of the commission the wording of the section states, if a commission forms a prima facie opinion. To that we have 2 submissions. In the Shinetsu case of 2005 Supreme Court, prima facie opinion has been established as bare perusal of records and not any detailed examination of witnesses. What from that we infer is that right now the commission is not applying any judicial mind to the facts being presented. What the commission is doing is going through the records and prima facie on the basis of what it's presented. It's not seeing who's right, who's wrong, who has more of a leverage, etc.
But 26.2 is the appealable order.
26.2 is appealable order, yes, Your Lordship, we agree. And that is where we feel that even finality of the order in the sense it's not final, but even if argumentation, that even if we assume then to say that it's final in terms of this quorum in itself and then they have to go to the higher quorum, even then the opinion is prima facie. And prima facie opinion does not require application of judicial mind. Therefore, wherein there is no application of judicial mind, we feel any argument about a judicial member not being present falls redundant and is not for the commission to inquire. And secondarily, they stated that there was notice directly given to the parties and no prima facie opinion. We believe rather on the converse, the commission giving notice is adhering to principles of natural justice because the commission is hearing both the sides and then forming a prima facie opinion. Therefore, we don't feel that even on the principles of natural justice or on the application of judicial mind, there exists a need for a judicial member to be present right now. Then your lordship will be dealing with 2 factors that I mentioned. Firstly, the determination of the relevant market. We feel, firstly, they argue both demand side substitutability and supply side substitutability, wherein by the end of their arguments, they were mainly focusing on consumer benefit. But even if we take them on both grounds, and we will talk about the same case that they refer to, which is Federation of Hotel versus Make My Trip. Therein, the commission explicitly stated that multi-homing is something that they're contending, that a consumer might go offline, might go online. But therein, the commission explicitly stated that an Indian consumer does not necessarily multi-home on the basis of the characteristics of an online platform, which is where we again differentiate. And if I could refer the lordships to the judgment of the NCLAT in XYZ versus Alphabet, therein the commission differentiated between UPI and other mobile-based payment apps. So, for their end, for minutes extension also, 30 seconds. Just to bind up my submissions. From there, and even if we assume the end product, because for a consumer paying through UPI or paying through Paytm is the same thing. However, on the basis of characteristics and the kind of payment that happens, the commission differentiated between them. Which is where we say that online and offline retail markets cannot be clubbed together as one relevant market, and in the present case, the relevant market is online retail markets, and intention is shown because Bonanza.com exists in 2011, they're practicing predatory pricing even in 2023, 10 years after existence, they have more than majority market share. Therefore, in no way can it be penetrated because they have a dominant market player, therefore intent can be imputed to the respondents. Much obliged, Lord. It's a pleasure of you.
The counsel would concede to the questions put forth by the learned informant. Essentially speaking, any arguments made by them pertaining to the corollary arguments which are there, which are restricted to our written submissions, it wouldn't substantiate to any of the contentions put forth by us, which was opposing their allegation. When it comes to the first contention put forth by them regarding substantial manipulation, there has been no history in the jurisprudence of Competition Commission of McLean that substantial manipulation would amount to any sort of anti-competitive appreciable adverse effect on the economy. So that in itself invalidates their contention. Second contention, the counsel would like to substantiate, invalidate the case put forth by them by stating another case of the Supreme Court of India, which was an appellate case by the CCI, in re WhatsApp privacy case, wherein it was stated that if the informants alone substantiated the bench with respect to any prima facie opinion, then could you please repeat that line? Because whatever they said, they explicitly was mentioned in this particular case, and it was told this need not be the necessary case. The counsel, the limited knowledge of the counsel is not able to supply the bench for the same, but in this particular case, the Supreme Court has mentioned. But and the third, when it comes to the third submission about multi-homing, it's the antithesis of omni-channels. Over here, omni-channels is when an online market is trying to establish into an offline market, or vice versa, where an offline market is trying to get into an online market. When this is happening, the spectrum of interoperability marginally increases, to which the consumer would have to would have to adapt the same, and when it comes to multi-holding, their preferences, as mentioned in section 2T, the intended the use and characteristics and price, everything gets how to say, molded in such a way that the consumer has to adapt and enact the same. So this in itself would render their conditions invalid.